Hey everybody, it's Sean Waters on behalf of the Wisdom Workshop. I'm excited to invite you to go along the journey with us. This is day 1 of 49 days of exploring how writing connects to living and achieving the best version of ourselves. This course is particularly designed for people who are trying to figure out where they're going or what they're doing, and for people who are wanting to take further steps in their creative projects or their creative life, but they don't know what that might be, or they need a set of deadlines and frameworks to advance their goals. So for this first week, we're really going to be going over tools of the trade. And this is kind of geeking out about the workshop metaphor. I was thinking about having like an intangible tool belt, or like some kind of a tool belt that you could, just to make the point that there are tools, right? Like if I'm in a workshop and I'm making a wooden bowl, I'm going to have a table saw and a lathe and then hand tools, and there's different, we need tools to make things. And if we're making or writing or composing a life that we really love, a well-lived life, a joyful life, a happy life, I think we need some tools. So I started thinking about that metaphor, and the big tool that kept on coming up over and over again is a mental skill of being able to come back to the present moment and pay attention to the quality of our minds and presence. So thanks for joining us. That's what we're talking about today. Cultivating presence is two things we want to say. Cultivating is about the sense that we're growing, deepening, tending to. This is like gardening, where we're building, familiarizing, practicing. Just like Natalie Goldberg makes the point that if you're establishing a running practice, it might be hard at first, out of shape. Same thing with a writing practice. If you're free writing every day, it might feel strange at first, and then it just starts to feel natural. And you also learn how to just get over the times that you don't want to go run, or you don't want to write, and you realize it's not really about whether or not you want to or not. It's about your ability to pay attention and be willing or interested to pay attention to the quality of the present moment. Next time we're going to look at writing specifically as a process to do this, but I feel like there's really big value in drawing attention to the fact that we can, as a matter of habit and as a matter of practice, cultivate a greater presence in ourselves and our experience. So what does that mean? This is a moment-to-moment awareness. So we're aware of things arising and falling, that things can change, that the quality of our experience, that there's a dynamic quality that's hard to pin down. It's almost beyond language, but we can show up for how it feels in certain times and certain places and attend to that one way or another. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about this as bare attention, and I should basically say that this is another way of saying non-judgment. It would have been nice to put non-judgment on one line, and I started judging myself for choosing to put it there. But the goal here is to not judge or not evaluate whether or not it's good or bad, but to just see it as it is. Actually can be very tough when we are so used to evaluating everything. In fact, if you have experience going to a therapist, one of the things that I found so helpful in going to a counselor or therapist was that I really felt like I wasn't being judged, or I wasn't being evaluated as being good or bad. My issues that I were having were just matter of fact on the table. And that's really refreshing. So we want to kind of try to practice. I'm hearing Yoda say, do or do not. There is no try. If you're trying to do something, this is an interesting predicament. Can I be present while I'm trying to do something? I think yes. If I'm present, I'm seeing, I'm trying to do something, not just doing it. So I'm not judging as good or bad, and it's very interesting to see how deep this goes in our experience, and it's real kind of It's really kind of wonderful to cultivate a presence of just being aware of what's happening. This is foundational, obviously. To pay attention to the quality of our experience on a moment-to-moment basis is really what opens up an entire realm of our ability to take notes and pay attention to what's exciting to us on our journey, our ability to map out our terrain and see like what actually, how we're feeling and how that might connect, if and start doing some analysis of where we are and how we're there in a sense of present awareness. Put Zen and archery on here because the school of Zen is a school of Buddhism in Japan. It's actually the main school of Buddhism in Japan that moved. Buddhism went from India to China to Japan. And the word Zen is actually the Sanskrit word Dharma, which means teachings. So the teachings of the Buddha, the Dharma, went up to China, it became Chan, and then moved to Japan, it became Zen. And the Japanese understanding of Buddhism really focuses on the non-verbal communication of enlightenment, the direct embodied experience. There's a lot of Zen practices that point us back to our own minds. So I'm not paying attention, or I am paying attention to what's going on, but I'm realizing that how I'm seeing the world and the way I'm interpreting it is a function of the quality of my presence. And when I get that kind of responsibility and I learn how to train at moments of being able to be really focused, that's really where insight and penetration into the nature of reality can happen if we're using Buddhist understanding. We don't need to, though. I think this is something that works in realms of athletics and other elements of flow, where when we are so focused on the moment that we're in, where we can see the target and our full attention becomes present on that one thing that we're doing, like archers need to do, that's a kind of good metaphor to understand presence. I also want to suggest that there's a lot of different ways we can be present. My good friend likes to swim every day. That's when he feels most in his body, and he's become really, that's a cornerstone of his day, is to make sure that he is present in the pool. Kind of sets everything up. I know for me, I always feel better when I dedicate some time in the morning to just showing up on the page and being present to whatever happens. There's no expectation about what's going to happen. There's just a way for me to be completely present. Also, perhaps because I like to talk so much, and I like to hear myself talk so much, or it feels like I'm relaxed when I do this practice. So maybe for me, writing works extra special, as I like to read so much, but I'm not sure. I think because of the popularity of books like Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, or a lot of the other people I've talked to, writing can be a very therapeutic way to dump the thought patterns or the things that we're working on, basically to dump out what we're thinking about that isn't in the exact present moment, and return back to a sense of presence, to just what is. You start noticing things, the way the light is, the way the clouds are, the way our day is, and kind of impels, in my experience, impels us to act a little more, impels us to do something kind and compassionate, to take care of some business, to do what needs to be done. So we're starting this exploration. The first day, the exercise is to consider cultivating presence, and really to ask ourselves, what do we do that helps us cultivate presence? And what do we do that takes us out of our sense of presence? A lot of Josh Waitzkin, the author of The Art of Learning and a real master of chess and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and how learning is the transfer of ideas. He he's really big into reducing our inputs. That when we wake up and we scroll on our phones, or when we're on our computers and we're kind of zoning out, that's not really, we can maybe remove some of those distractions, return the attention to our attention itself in a sense, and to really be present to the quality of our awareness, not just distract ourselves out of it. So I'm curious if this helped. I'm curious if there's certain activities that you do to cultivate presence, and anything you've learned that helps you do that. I know for me, non-judgment writing, free writing practices, going on walks is the other huge one. Taking a 20-minute walk and getting fresh air can really helps me get out of the funk. And paying attention to diet and sleep is another really big one. When I'm not eating as well, not eating enough fiber, not eating enough fresh foods, it's much more difficult to be present when you're riding that carbohydrate, sugar boost and crash. So what else am I missing about presence? This is obviously a big topic that you could write entire books about. If you want to read more about it, Natalie Goldberg's Writing Down the Bones, particularly the opening chapters. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, about the investigation of quality. And in some ways, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, about showing up with presence to the most creative parts of yourself and letting them in, attending to them. So this kind of opens up a whole world of, it's a wonderful frame for your experience. I'll say one last thing. There's another trick here that we can kind of use. So as an English instructor, there's moments of my year when I'm reading 70 papers at once. And that can be challenging to stay engaged. But when I shift the focus away from the papers into the state of my mind when I'm reading the papers, and really kind of come back to the breath and come back to my posture, try to remember strong back, soft front. There's a nice Zen saying. And I kind of refocus on the quality of my presence. I kind of feel myself recentering back on the task that needs to be done. And it doesn't really feel like this big, long task. It just feels like what my task is to be present. And then the paper writing takes care of itself. I went through a phase 2 or 3 years ago where I would tell myself the only thing you really need to do today is breathe and be present and just kind of watch things take care of themselves. And they do. You brush your teeth and you eat the oatmeal and you go into the office and it keeps going. Cultivating a sense of presence is a way to accept and be happy with the presence. So thank you. If you're just watching this for the first time, welcome and thank you. My name's Sean Waters, and tomorrow we're going to look at the essence of a free writing practice. Thank you. Good luck in your workshops, becoming the best version of yourself, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you.